Absolutely a Moneyball theorist, and I think because of a book or a movie, I think sometimes it gets glamorized and maybe something it might not necessarily be. And the reality is, I think if you understand the principles that go along with it, I think at the core you're trying to acquire the undervalued, and you use data to be able to determine what the value is. And we've done I think a successful job as a staff identifying players maybe on other rosters that we thought in our team in this setting, whether it's a system we play, the manager we have, the players we put around them, that they'd have a lot of success. And you see guys like Dave Romney, who was LA Galaxy, Alex Muil, who was at New York Red Bulls, like Ethan Zubak scored the other day. He was a reserve for LA Galaxy. Each of these guys, maybe maybe we were able to identify some things about them using some data sources. The idea of analytics is not just about numbers. It's information. So for us, I think we've got a really diverse staff from the standpoint that look at the game a lot differently with different lenses, and because of that, I think we're able to make really informed decisions.
Okay. When you see Toronto FC, and I believe their general manager came out and said, well, I went on transfermarket.com and I clicked on players whose contracts are running out, and I saw Insigne, so he emailed his agent. When you see that, and then everything you just said, you've got charts and red string. You got red string on everything. Do you think to yourself sometimes hey, I guess it could be, you could skin a cat both ways?
Look, every team's different, So to me, rather than spend time talking about what other teams do or don't do, focus on what we do, I just think, our league is complicated.
Right.
I find it interesting sometimes that you have some ownership groups, especially with new teams, that they'll get with a search firm and say, we got to bring somebody in from overseas. I got to bring someone who doesn't understand our league. And again, every team is different. Every club's mission is different. But, knowing how long it takes to understand how vast our country is. You see players who come in from Europe well past their prime, and they're like, wait a second, wait, you play in what temperature in August?
Yeah. And we have to fly 6 hours?
Yeah. Look, in 2020, when we resumed play after COVID, we landed in Dallas on the tarmac. We get off the tarmac, it's 102 degrees. Kicked off, it was 100 degrees.
Wow.
Hani Mukhtar, who was German, and had come from Denmark.
Right.
He says to me, we're standing on tarmac, he said, other than a sauna, forget about playing. He said he's never actually even experienced temperatures like that before.
He's like, why are we being tortured?
So I just think sometimes when it comes to players coming from different countries, I get how fans expect immediate results. And then when you spend certain amounts of money, when you have players who've had certain pedigrees or CVs in other leagues, there's always be certain expectations, but you have to be realistic also that, every country is different, every league is different.
Yeah.
And, for players coming from abroad, this is as unique a country and league as there is anywhere in the world.
What is the one thing that you would say to an aspiring, a young lad out there who wants to be a GM when he grows up, just like you did? What's if you are you're starting an MLS club from scratch, what's the one, I don't know, is it a golden bullet? What's the smart move? Is it to get a couple of TAM guys? What's the smart, is it get a big DP player? What is the one thing you would say, if you do this, you can then build around it? And I don't want to hear the inspiration, none of that. What's the money move? You know what I mean?
Well, look, I think it's easy to say we're going to spend a lot of money on somebody who's going to score a ton of goals.
Right.
But the reality is, the simplest terms, if you score, you should win. If you don't concede, you'll never lose.
Right.
Right. So literally, I'm not a mathematician, but that's kind of how it works. So to me, I think for us, we were fortunate in how we built things out with having a really strong spine down the middle. We kind of felt if we could make sure we'd be hard to score against, we could then create, manufacture, and develop an attacking impetus. And I think that year one we were able to do that, and because of that, I think year two and year three we've been really more dynamic offensively.